Hi everyone, it's Eric from ecotma12.blogspot.com and welcome to my full review of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. Now, a big shout out must go to Vodafone who sent me this handset out to review, and you can find a link to their website in the video description below. Now, let's start off with the design. Now, the Galaxy S4 Mini is a 4.3-inch screen affair, and it's meant to mimic the design of the Galaxy S4. And it does that in a very, very good way, because I can differentiate smartphones, and if someone's actually holding this at a distance, I wouldn't be able to tell if this was the S4 Mini. In my eyes, it would be look exactly like a Galaxy S4. So you're getting that premium look to this device, or premium in a figure of speech as to what Samsung devices tend to be. But yeah, the build quality is decent. It's plastic, yes, but it does feel really quite good in the hand, and Samsung seem to get away with it, as it does seem to work for them. Although with the Galaxy Note 3 they do seem to be trying different things. But I digress. So design is fine, and now let's move on to performance. Now, the performance of this smartphone is great, as it's got a 1.7 GHz dual-core processor. We now have quad-core processors and octa-core processors are slowly trying to creep in, but dual-core processors as of right now still perform very well, and everything I throw at this, it performs very, very well indeed. Now, the bigger test is stuff like gaming, so I've got a couple games in this folder, and I'll start off with The Amazing Spider-Man, as that's pretty much the interesting game I always play, just to test on these smartphones. And when you're in the sky and your camera's not looking down at the city, then it is running very smooth, but when you're swinging around the city, then the gameplay is quite laggy, as it always tends to be. And The Amazing Spider-Man is a game that is really starting to annoy me now, as it's not clear what kind of smartphones it runs on. I would say it's down to optimization, but I doubt it. Now, I'm not going to just purely test The Amazing Spider-Man. From now on, I'm also going to be testing another game, which is a new one, Asphalt 8. And Asphalt 8 was, I'd say, not the smoothest of games, but it definitely did run at very playable speed. Normally, if it runs at 30 frames per second, that is good enough, but it ran at about 40 frames per second, and I was really quite happy with that. And yes, it's not the 60 frames per second, but this is the latest game running on a more budget-end device, so that's acceptable. The game runs still at a very, very nice speed. Next thing I'll talk about is call quality. Well, the earpiece right over here for incoming calls is great. It's been very, very clear, and the same goes for the microphone at the bottom for outgoing call quality. It has been equally as good. Now, what didn't I like about the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini? Well, it might be just this review unit, but I've been experiencing a lot of responsiveness issues with the screen. Whenever I try, say, swiping down, this is working perfectly fine now, but if I try swiping down, say from the center of the screen or anywhere from this whole area, it would be very, very unresponsive. And, it only works, say, if I pull down the notification area from this area, or say if I swipe screen, sometimes it wouldn't always work. Or if I swipe from between the app drawer, again, it wouldn't always work. Now, that was a problem I was experiencing quite a lot after the first week of actually using this device. But there's one point where the screen lost all responsiveness. It's like it was off. I'd turn the screen on. Every time I was trying to swipe on the screen, it wasn't unlocking the phone at all. What I did then was tap and hold on the power buttons so I could power it off, but I couldn't even press the power off button. It wouldn't even work. And what I had to do then was actually take off the back, which is a great thing that this did that, because if I had this problem with a phone that did not have a removable back, then I would not have been able to take the battery out and then put it back in. So if anything, I'm glad it's happened on this device and not others, because then you're going to have to wait all day for the battery to decrease before you can actually, give it another charge and turn it off. So that's great that you can remove the battery, which I really did like. But, that screen responsiveness issue was a problem. I had to take the battery out, put it back inside, put the back on, and then I was able to actually gain access to the screen again. And it seems to be fine ever since. So maybe just this review unit. Let me know in the comments below if you've run into this kind of problem, but it wasn't a pleasant one. Apart from that, I've got no negatives really. This does seem to be a great smartphone. As I said, the negative for me was the screen size, but that's, again, as I said, that's personal opinion. And for everyone else, the screen size could be great. Battery life has been superb on this device. If I hardly use it, then I'll get about 3 to 4 days on standby, but heavy use I can easily get a day and a half. I mean, the battery on this really is quite amazing. So, good job on Samsung with doing great battery life. Another plus point of the smartphone is the 8 megapixel camera. Now this camera is capable of capturing 1080p HD video, and the video this produces is great in my opinion. It's not the best out there, but you know, for this mid-range kind of smartphone, it does the job very, very well. And the photos on this have also been, you know, absolutely amazing. Again, for this price point, Samsung have done a great job with cameras, and the detail is really quite stunning. So, in regards to the camera performance and the actual sort of quality of the screen, I'm very, very impressed. Again, let's give you a look at the screen. Now, this is not actually happening, as you see these lines moving around. This does not happen on the actual screen. This is just to do with the camera. That's actually my camera that's actually recording this. But the screen is great and very, very crisp. So, that's great. And the price, I thought, is a bit higher than would have liked it to be, but apart from that, it's a great smartphone. I can definitely recommend it. Is it as good as the HTC One? Which one would I go for? The HTC One Mini or this Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini? Well, the S4 and HTC One are the ones to compare in terms of top-end smartphones. In terms of budget smartphones, it's the S4 Mini versus the HTC One Mini. And overall, I would still go with the HTC One Mini. Now, why would I go with the One Mini? Well, primarily because of the build quality, which is superior. The screen, although it's smaller, it does seem like it's the right size in my opinion. And also, the boom sound speakers on the front of the HTC One are really amazing. They're not as good as on the One Mini, they're not as good as the HTC One, but you know, they did what they could with the One Mini, and they've done a great job. But yeah, I really do like the S4 Mini, and I can just highly recommend it to anyone who is looking for a mid-end smartphone. Thanks very much for watching. This has been Eric from ecotman12.blogspot.com. Please thumbs up, comment and subscribe, and I'll see all of you next time. Take care.